The views and opinions expressed in the Golden Boot podcast are those of the speaker and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of the Golden Boot podcast as a whole. Hey, welcome back to the Golden Boot. It's your boy Pooh Bear. I got Aunt Petty Murphy, Daniel D. Williams, Chris, the missing link, is in the building with us. Gentlemen, first off, how y'all doing this evening?
Good, man. How y'all doing?
Good, buddy.
Man, I'm doing beautiful.
Can't complain.
All right. Well, fellas, it's we got a lot to talk about tonight. I say we got a lot to talk about. We got a GOAT coming on. But before we get to that, we do have a few things that we need to we got a few things we need to get to. Hold on. My bad, y'all. My notes.
Hey guys, while we waiting on Pooh Bear to get his stuff together, how about y'all like and share?
Right.
Like and share, comment. Like and comment.
All right, give me 1 second, y'all. First off, let's just say the WNBA. I know y'all weren't ready for that. In the WNBA. Oh my goodness. All my notes. In the WNBA, Sue Bird has just become the all-time winningest player in WNBA history. Second, Candace Parker just became the first player to have 6,000 points, 2,500 rebounds, and 1,500 assists. So congratulations to those two. Listen, I'm about to get him up out of here. I ain't gonna even play with you.
This Sue Bird last season also, she announced that she was gonna retire at the end of the season. So shout out to her. She been a GOAT in the game for a minute.
Right. This is just a random thought, but we was having a debate in Spaces probably a week ago about how Larry Bird would get cooked. If he would have played today. So with Sue Bird dominating the WNBA, is this a case that maybe, through his genetics that he could have possibly hung around?
I think Bird would have been able to play. He just wouldn't have been as dominant as he was back then because he don't really have the athleticism, but he definitely good enough to be able to shoot good enough and score good enough to be able to be a decent.
So you saying he might be a six man or something like that?
No, he'd probably start. You know what I mean? But he just wouldn't be like one of the greatest of all times if he played today.
Who would you? Go ahead.
I finna say he'd probably be more like he's Luka. Pretty like their games are similar, but Luka's a better ball handler. So I mean that he could be like a lesser version of Luka. You know what I mean, or like something like that.
Okay.
Would you say shooting ability better than Luka's?
Yeah, he a better shooter, but Luka get to the rim better, and Luka got a little more weight and stuff to him. So
yeah. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and just tell y'all all the notes that I had just got overwritten, so I just had to go find where I sent our notes out so I can know what we talking about tonight.
It's all good. If you want, I can send it to you too, man.
I got it now. Right. But so thank y'all for holding it down as I figure things out. So on the WNBA, and I'm sorry, I shorted Candace a little bit. It's 6,000 points, 3,000 rebounds, 1.5 assists. And the WNBA has been around since the 90s,
20, I think
and
it's been like 20. It's over 25 years, if I remember, or like right at 25.
right, to put things in perspective, their season is 30 to 40 games, depending, and then you have playoffs. So it's amazing that she has gotten this far. Yeah,
Yeah, big ups
uh,
to Candace, man.
And
yes, sir.
while we talking WNBA, free Brittany Griner.
Free Britney.
Free Brittany.
Latest I heard on it, I was actually trying to look that up as well before we got started. The last I heard, she did have a court date. She did not plead guilty or not guilty. They're saying that she may have to plead guilty because what they're looking at doing is possibly doing a prisoner swap.
She
And in
gone.
order to do that, she has to admit guilt.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
Now,
regardless,
if we could also remember, she wasn't smuggling in cocaine or
No.
weed or anything like that. I think she had like a vape.
It was THC cartridge, THC like vape cartridge. So,
Yeah, I
but
mean, like,
either way it go, bro. She's being used as a political pawn, and I ain't
Exactly.
using it. We ain't gonna go elaborate more than that. So,
yeah, let's move on.
All right, moving on the men's side, the NBA free agency and summer of trades has
Yeah,
begun. Things got hot and heavy. One of the first was DeJounte Murray. He was traded to Atlanta for, I know, Gallinari, uh,
Gallinari and
Gallinari,
picks.
a bunch of picks. But where does this put Atlanta now? Because they didn't have to give up Collins. They
They
did
didn't
recently just up. They just traded
Herder. Yeah,
Herder.
Herder. Yeah.
So
But honestly, if you kind of look at what Chris, don't even say nothing now. I'm not saying that they're gonna be this, but if you look at how they building their team, it's similar to what Golden State did. When they was building with Steph and Clay, because you got your scorer, who's good shooter, can run around off screens and stuff like that. But you also have another player with him who's bigger in size, can play complement him better. One's a good defender, one isn't a good defender, so he kind of makes up for that. And if you look at what Atlanta did, they kept Hunter, they kept Collins, they still got Capella, and they got a pretty good bench. So they set themselves up to be one of the top teams in the East. But the only problem is the East loaded, man. So it's hard to compete over there.
yeah. Speaking of the East, James Harden declined his 47.3 million option with Philly, but he did resign, or he's looking to
Yeah,
resign.
they're working it out. They're working it out.
Working out. Who did resign? Bradley Beal declined his $36.4 million option and re-signed for 5 years,
Bad.
251,
Got that
He took the
bad.
money.
He took the
251
money.
million.
He took the money, man.
He rather have that money than the ring shit. That's all that matters.
Hey, but
to
the
me.
thing about it is the rings ain't guaranteed, but that bag is.
Yeah,
That's true.
a lot of these boys, probably grew up without nothing, and they just they gotta take that bag.
It's hard to turn down 251, man. Hard
Yeah.
to turn that down.
One of my favorite clips is Bradley Beal talking to his AAU team, and he was talking to him. He was like, "Y'all ain't ready." He was like, "Because if you make it to the lead, you got to guard me, and y'all ain't ready."
Exactly.
That's one of my favorite quotes, because it's not a look at me, I'm bigger than it. It's more of a, hey, this is what you
Reality
got to
check.
strive to get to. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what you got to strive to get to. Blake Sources. That is funny.
I
That is funny.
Hey, who is
Blake
that?
Sources.
don't know.
I don't know. That's hilarious.
Everybody got a burner account now, so look.
Yeah.
Chill out.
All right. On to some more. Zion and Ja sign extensions. We don't have to go into much about Zion. I know we're gonna say that a little bit for later, but I do want to say a lot of people were kind of skeptical about him possibly signing the extension, how much it would be. He hadn't been healthy. Is he worth it? So
Anthony
I'ma
Davis
say
did the same thing.
He did. That's very true. He did. But shout out to Ja. He deserved that. He's earned that money. And Darius Garland also got a bag from Cleveland. I think he's the highest paid player in Cleveland history. which is
That's saying a lot.
That is
More than
saying a
LeBron?
lot.
Yeah. Zach
Wow.
Levine. I think like the contract amount is for the high. You know, LeBron was signing like 2-year deals. You know what I mean?
Okay.
For like like 90 and stuff like that. But then Zach Levine also signed and got the bag too. So it's a lot of these young guys going to get some paper.
That's funny, bro. Hey, Zion didn't have to wait his options long.
I mean,
BK
if
takeover.
somebody saying here go 193 million, would you turn it down?
Nah.
And he has a chance to get up to 231 with incentives. So
yeah, well, actually, it's
I just hope
it's all
in
based
2 to
off.
3 years.
It's all based off what he does next season. If he makes, if he gets the MVP, probably not gonna happen. Defensive Player of the Year, probably not gonna happen. Or All NBA team, which could possibly happen. Then it bumps up from 193 to 231, and that's the same for Ja. Also,
How you feel like he can't do all those names though?
I mean,
like
it's hard to win
like
MVP, bro.
He's
I mean, it's possible.
It's
possible, but I'm saying it's not likely for him to win. It's more likely for him to get to 231 is probably because he made the All NBA team. That's kind of
with the way he dunk and all the flashy stuff he do. Yeah,
it's more than that.
But I hope he just in 2 to 3 years he don't.
I put it like this: if he MVP, ain't nobody gonna be happier than me. So I'm all for it.
I just think he'll win.
You go out. I think you go out if you get KD, right? You get Zion. You know what I'm saying? You get Brandon Ingram.
First of all, that's your problem because you ain't getting KD unless you give up one of them two. Unless you give up Zion or Brandon Ingram, you're not getting KD.
Oh, man. Well, you know they ain't giving up Zion. Don't give up Brandon Ingram either.
My point. So as much as I would love to have,
you wouldn't give up Brandon Ingram for KD?
No, I don't.
No.
Personally, I don't.
Nope.
I personally don't. Look, KD's is great. You know what I mean? And if he came, he would probably make us an instant title contender. But I like the youth and the chemistry that this team has, and I'm looking at the next 5-7 years and not the next 2 years.
And not only that, Brandon Ingram wants to be here. He really wants to be here, bro.
I'm tired of having stars, big name stars, talent, who really don't want to be in New Orleans. Now that I got people who want to be here, I ain't letting that go.
Right.
Yeah.
Hey, I want to interrupt. Hey, Daddy. Shout out. Save me a plate.
How you doing, Mr. Henry? Keep him in check.
Yes, sir.
Hey, don't do that.
I know it's a full-time job, but
keep him in
check. Y'all chill out.
Hey, Mr. Pooh, did he tell you about that raisin brand? He was not.
I did. I called. So I called him after the show. It was like, hey, I ain't never told you that story. Did you know that? He was like, I don't even remember that. So
he like, I ain't seen no raisin
I'm
brand.
glad he wasn't offended.
Yeah. So, but
speaking of KD though, where he going?
I just been saying, he requested a trade. If I'm not mistaken,
I know he's interested in the Bay.
No, the Bay is
interested in him.
The Bay is interested in him.
I think they're gonna have to give up a whole bunch more.
He named up 2 teams. He named Phoenix and he named Miami. Them were the 2 teams he named.
Thank you. I was just getting to
Which one you think he'll win in the fastest?
It depends on who's left on the team that they, depending on what them teams give up for him. But he did say he ain't going to Phoenix. Well, he don't want to go to Phoenix unless Booker's there.
Yeah.
And he don't want to go to Miami unless
Jimmy
Butler and Bam Adebayo there. So that kind of limits
Blake's MVP.
So it kind of limits what you can give up for him.
In my opinion for Phoenix, you got to keep Booker and you got to keep Ayton.
Well, you can't. They can't trade Booker now. He can't. He just signed a supermax deal. He can't be traded for a year.
Right. So if you can keep Booker, Ayton,
that's a good point.
KD, I like
Ayton. Ayton a free agent, so you might have to give him up in a signing trade.
And Pooh, you know that's true, dog. Because my little brother, he's a big KD fan.
Well, that's the problem I have with it, though. Right. All right. So. The report came out that the reason why he asked for a trade is because Golden State won, and the criticism he was getting for leaving the first time and all that kind of pressured him into wanting to trade. But you named the two best teams in the Eastern Conference, or the best team in the East and the best team in the West. Like, so you basically saying I want to go to another stacked team. Like,
That's right.
like that don't help. That don't help your legacy at all, bro.
Yeah. So
If I'm-
to those our audio listeners, the comment is by a good friend, Danny Thompson. He put KD legacy is in jeopardy. So that's the comment. So
But see, my bad.
go ahead. No, go ahead.
See, my thing is, if he was, I know we're not saying that he's gonna go to the Pelicans, but going to a team like the Pelicans or Memphis, you know what I mean, or a young team like even Phoenix. I know they haven't won nothing, but they were just in the finals a year ago and was the number one seed this year. So go to a team like, if he would have went to Minnesota, you know what I mean, or someone like that. If you go to a team like that and take them to a title, then you're gonna solidify your legs.
My thing is
you going to solid teams that's that really on the cusp right away. So what are you really doing?
nothing. My thing is, why not stay in Brooklyn? Why not stay in Brooklyn? Why not stay in Brooklyn? Get you and Kyrie stay. You get Ben Simmons.
Yeah, Kyrie's not going to stay.
I mean, y'all know what impressed me with KD? Y'all know what impressed me? If he go to somebody like Charlotte or
he's not going to do that. Though. You're right.
I'm with you. Cleveland would be perfect for him. Cleveland would be perfect.
In that case, just stay in Brooklyn. Don't go nowhere.
Let me ask you a question. Let me ask y'all a question because what Chris just said brought up something. Is this different for someone, say, like LeBron, who while he was in Cleveland the first time, we all know he didn't have much of a cast around him, but he did get him to the finals. But then he went to Miami, which was considered a super team. Then he went back to Cleveland, and he had I guess you say another super team,
a young Kyrie.
Young Kyrie.
It was a super team. You can say that.
Okay.
I don't think it was a super team, dog. Even though he beat my team, I don't.
That was a super team, bro. Kyrie top 75 player all time.
And Kevin Love.
Kevin Love should be a top 75.
I think he deserved to get top 75 and not Klay Thompson.
Who?
Kyrie.
Both of them should be to me.
Oh, Kyrie wasn't in it, or was he?
I don't know. I'm not saying. I'm saying
Klay Thompson wasn't in it. Kyrie was in it. Klay Thompson wasn't.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
That might be because Klay's played under the shadow of Curry.
I mean, Kyrie
he don't have
the difference with that
name and stuff.
The difference with that when Kyrie went to Boston, I mean, although he did have other people around him, he was primarily the star. Tatum wasn't there yet.
But I mean, even looking at Klay, what he did this past postseason, he wasn't that impressive, honestly.
He coming off an injury.
I understand that, but I'm just saying he wasn't that impressive.
A bad injury, a Kobe injury, dog.
But we'll see, I guess. But my thing is, Kyrie a better player than me than Klay. Klay, as good as Klay is, Kyrie a better player.
It goes back to what we talked about that in spaces: pure shooter versus all around scorer.
Yeah.
Give
me Kyrie all day.
I'm not knocking Klay because Klay a better two-way player, but the things Kyrie can do offensively, it ain't but probably a handful of players that's been able to do that.
Yeah,
I respect it.
Every time I see that name,
hey, funny. That's I was just about to say that's a valid point. That is a valid point.
Yeah, that's true. So the comment says Miami was not a super team before he got there. KD went to an established super team with Golden State.
That Miami wasn't one before he got there, but when he got there, they became
definitely was.
So, but the difference
you can't move the goalpost, dog.
Yeah, back to your original question though. The difference between LeBron is that when he left OKC, he had a team good enough to win. He just couldn't get over the hump. Then he went and joined the team
that he couldn't beat.
And won with them. Then when he went to Brooklyn, Brooklyn did everything for that man. Everything for that man. They signed DeAndre Jordan. They got Kyrie. They shipped out players so they could get James Harden. You know what I mean? They fired a coach because he wasn't with some of the things they wanted to do. He signed off on Steve Nash to be the coach. So Brooklyn did everything they wanted to. I mean, everything he asked them to do. So if you look at LeBron's situation when he asked out of Cleveland, they wasn't doing nothing for him the first time. And then when he went back, he had already won. KD ain't won nothing in Brooklyn. So I mean,
yeah, I want to address this next comment.
I like that.
It
I
says,
like that too.
today's NBA can't compare to the 80s and 90s. There wasn't all this jumping around and trying to build super teams. People like Jordan, Magic, Barkley, Malone, Ewing, Drexler all played 90%. Then the next part of their career where they were drafted. I kind of disagree with that because super teams were.
Barkley did not. Barkley did not play 90% where he was drafted.
I was going to say not just that, but when they say that about the super teams, the Lakers were a super team. Whether they drafted them,
the Celtics
were a super team.
The Bulls was a super team.
Bulls was a super team.
It's just
the difference. Second three-peat, especially that second three-peat.
The difference is instead of the star players moving, the role players were moving. I think that's the biggest difference.
Well, that's part of it. But is this the thing though? There wasn't as many teams in the league, so it was easier to stack. You know, like back in the day, the Celtics was going to make sure that they got the best player out the draft. You know what I mean? That was, and so you stack your team with McHale and Bird, and you know what I'm saying. All these guys. I mean, that was 5-6 deep with Hall of Famers. You know what I mean? Like. That's a super team. You know, even if you look back at the Philadelphia 76ers back then when they had Dr. J, Moses Malone in them, that's a super team. You know what I mean? Just because the way the team was constructed is different doesn't mean that it wasn't a super team.
Agreed.
I agree wholeheartedly. Look at Danny's comments.
What we got? Said I had Brooklyn with Irving. I know I had Brooklyn with Irving, Durant, and Harden with at least one ring.
I think everybody did.
Yep.
Yeah. Not just that. The Clippers. If y'all remember that was the year of the bubble. When Kawhi first got there, everyone said on paper that's the number one team. They didn't make it past the second round, if I'm not mistaken.
Right.
Bro, who in the world thought that Golden State would have a championship for KD would again?
Not me. I definitely
didn't. And it's not because I thought Golden State had the talent to get there. I just thought that they were finally, people had already pretty much figured them out. They got hot again this year. Like it was nothing that we can do about it. Oh, nothing anybody can do about it. You can't compare today's teams with the late 70s and 90s. They played the hands adept. That is true. If y'all don't know what Pops is talking about,
I see what he's saying. I see
hand checking and stuff, and defense was a lot different.
I thought he was saying they would play the hand they were dealt. As far as like it wasn't a lot of men.
Played the hands they were dealt.
Yeah, there wasn't a lot of big trades and stuff like that. But see, this is all right. What I'm trying to say is the players weren't trying to take an easy way to a championship.
My bad. He put the King James version on dealt.
Yeah, so they made that.
See, all right. So I get what Justice saying. For the most part, that's true. But toward the end of their careers, they did. Because Charles Barkley went teamed up with Clyde Drexler and Hakeem in Houston. You know, Scotty went there. Scotty went to Portland. Patrick Ewing went ring chasing. You know, he went to Seattle. You know what I mean? Like players were moving around toward the end of their. Karl Malone went to the Lakers with Gary Payton. You know what I mean? Like toward the end of their careers, they just weren't doing it in their prime. That's the only difference. But they did try to ring chase.
Yeah. Today's team. I'm trying to think of who. Golden State pretty much just drafted and built their team. They did have some free agency pieces come in. San Antonio is pretty much the same way.
Celtics.
The Celtics drafted theirs.
Celtics, their main core.
Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say prior to the trade for Kawhi and DeMar DeRozan, I was gonna say Toronto was another team.
Yeah, Toronto did. Yeah, but see the thing about Golden State, they drafted their core, and then they signed Durant. And after Durant left, he did a sign and trade pretty much. So they got back D'Angelo Russell, then they traded him for a first-round pick and Andrew Wiggins. So, yeah, they didn't do a lot of – it was like one free agent move that they did and, like, parlayed that into a bunch of more moves to get more picks and more assets. So, it was a free agent move, but they had to do some smooth, some shrewd moves after that to help their team.
All right.
See, that's why I be getting on AD right there. No let slick comments he be making. That's why I be getting on. I'm gonna get you.
What he saying, bro?
Talking about they done shame Chris made him show
up. Chris, you gotta ignore the comments. You gotta. What's good, Tony?
What's up, Tony?
Hey, y'all know what's so crazy, man? I've never seen somebody draw their mustache on like Tony, bro. That's a good mustache.
Hey, man, chill out. Y'all chill out. Hey, so I do have some miscellaneous things. So last week we were on the show and it hadn't finished, it hadn't gone final, but the Colorado Avalanche won the Stanley Cup.
Yes, sir.
That was significant, not because in the NHL world, but
it was significant in the NHL world because Tampa Bay Lightning was going for a three-peat.
That's true.
They had won 11 straight playoff series, which was a record, and they was about to go for their 12th. They were going to be the first team to three-peat since like the late 80s, early 90s, but the Avalanche stopped that. Shout out to my boy Dustin. That's his squad.
Yeah. Okay. Hey, I heard you play hockey in high school. That's true.
I wish I would but I've been watching it for about the past month, so I'm officially an aficionado now. You know what I mean?
And play hockey and pickleball in high school. That's crazy.
I don't even know what pickleball is. I'm not even gonna lie to you. I don't know what pickleball is.
All right. Hey, so before we go completely off rails, by the way, Mike Scarborough should be joining us in about 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Stan Kroenke. May not know, some of you may not know the name. He pretty much now has 3 championships in 5 months. How so? He's the owner of the LA Rams, who won the NFL Super Bowl.
Okay.
Colorado Mammoth, who won the National Lacrosse League. Yeah, I know.
Okay.
Yeah. Your boy was doing some research. And he's the owner of the Colorado Avalanche. So that's why I said it's significant.
Hey, check this out. And they family really got a whole bunch of reasons to celebrate because his brother-in-law just brought the Denver Broncos.
Boy,
part of the Walton family, the rich.
Yeah, his wife is a Walton. Stan Kroenke's wife is a Walton. So,
oh wow.
Yeah, and so like that's what the big thing about him getting it is, like you just mentioned, Kroenke owned the Avalanche and all those other little teams. And
is that like winning the lottery?
And now he on the Broncos.
When you say is that like winning the lottery? I
think it's better than winning the lottery, bro.
That is so.
Bobby Axelrod of owners.
Basically, so now that family own pretty much all the sports, except for like the Rockies and the Nuggets. You know what I mean? But they own pretty much all the sports teams, and they finna just make a big old like metroplex of all their stadiums and stuff together, and buy up. Boy, they finna make some money.
Can you imagine the Denver Bronco helmet with a self checkout offensive line? You got to block for yourself. But
they're gonna have
I got a question for you.
They finna change the name of that stadium to Walmart Stadium, though. I guarantee you that.
Yeah, that is true. That I can see happening very soon.
That's a cheesy name.
Yeah, but I got a good question for you. This popped up conversation we were having on Spaces one night. Benny Latino, shout out to Benny. He was talking about baseball and talking about different teams emerging and stuff, and I think he mentioned something about like when a player goes to a different team and how it creates that atmosphere. So my question to you guys: do we need villains in sports to enjoy sports?
Heck yeah.
Yes, sir.
Heck yeah.
Okay.
Right now, Florida is a villain.
Florida always a villain.
Florida is my villain. Nick Saban is the villain, right? Who else is a villain?
I think at this point, Lincoln Riley is
Lincoln Riley is definitely a villain.
Lane Kiffin is a villain. You know what I mean?
Lane Kiffin.
That Tennessee stuff,
Jumbo
bro.
Fisher.
Jumbo
Fisher is definitely a villain.
Shout out to everybody's favorite niece, Miss Aaliyah Marshall in the building.
Eli Ricks is
you gotta have somebody that you rooting against. You know what I mean? And that you I don't want to say hate, but for lack of a better word, you hate. You know what I mean? So I agree with that.
Hey, so who's y'all number one villain right now?
And what sport?
I can tell you. I can tell you in the past.
Any sport.
In any sport.
Yeah.
The Lakers.
Okay. Why?
Because I just hate them more than any team probably right now.
Is it the organization? Okay. Is it the organization for the Lakers or?
Yeah. Yes and no.
Okay.
It's compounded a little bit by the fact that LeBron's there, so the media attention that they get is unwarranted to a certain extent. And then part of it is the fact that Anthony Davis is there. And part of it is the fact that they're one of the best teams of all time. They got like 18, 17 championships. You know what I mean? So it's a little
Same reason why Puka hate us because we third.
No. The reason why I say Golden State. At first, I didn't. As a LeBron fan, they were the competition.
We the standard.
Watch your mouth, LGZ. Watch your mouth, dog. Watch your mouth.
They were not the standard. They were the competition. And now it's because I'm still a LeBron fan. I need Golden State to lose so he can have more rings than Steph. So but that's a different conversation.
You always chasing a dynasty. Everybody always takes.
What y'all think about this?
I gotta agree with C, man.
Yo,
that's my number one villain, football.
Alabama is my number one villain.
To me, this is why
I cannot stand Alabama.
Actually, it's not even Alabama. It's Nick Saban. Nick Saban is the number one villain for me.
It ain't Nick Saban.
It's because hold on.
Chris, hold on.
The reason why is because of what he did last year. The tight end that he took from Westgate. He knew we needed that guy, right? And he knew that guy probably might not ever play it down for Alabama. Might not. But the fact that he does stuff like that, that's why he's my number one villain, sports villain. Can't stand it.
Go ahead,
I agree, bro. Bama is definitely mine, dog. It's more of the Louisiana Bama fans that I just cannot get. I can't stand that. And then it's Eli Rich going over there, Savion Smith, and Louisiana recruits going over there. It does something to me, dog. That's like slapping me.
Dylan Moses. When Dylan Moses went, bro, I think that was like the nail in the coffin for me, bro. And then,
it was the guy from Dutchtown, dog, that did it for me.
That was Landon Collins.
Yeah.
Yeah, Landon Collins and what was the running back? Eddie Lacy. Yeah. They both played on the same team too.
Mm-hmm. So my villain, ultimate villain, I know y'all might give me crazy looks for this. When Jordan came back in the second three-peat, I wanted him to lose every one.
I'm with you.
I respected Jordan. I loved him. He was my villain.
How you old enough to remember that?
Because I'm old enough to be your daddy. if I was fast back in the day.
Hey, I don't remember the first series. I just remember the 2 series versus Jazz.
It was the Seattle Seahawks. I mean, not Seattle Sonics.
Hey, you know what? Hey, put Nurse comment up there. Nurse, you think that Nick Saban doesn't care about what happens at LSU? That's not true. That's not true. We've seen him. So Nurse Court put Daniel is funny. Like Nick Saban gives, what about us as or a player, whatever. He cares about winning. My thing is that's not true. Nick Saban has proven time after time that he will take players that he do not need so that LSU does not get him.
Hey, check this out. He took a kid from Acadiana named Walter Bob, who probably won't ever play at Alabama. But he did that because he couldn't get players from the Lafayette area. So he went and got Walter Bob from the Lafayette area, hoping
he had to be different, dog.
Yeah, hoping he could get some of the other Sage Ryan type guys. You know what I mean, like that, LaTerrence Welch and guys like that.
Name the last player from Alabama Nurse that come from Lafayette area that LSU ain't got. That was highly recruited. We done got all those guys.
Not just that, but Hootie
from up here.
Yeah,
Hootie
he was. I know what I'm saying, but he's a player that he got that pretty much was not going to play.
Hootie played. He just wasn't that great.
What's the kid? I can't think of his name. He was from Mississippi. He was an early enrollee at LSU and then flipped to Bama and never played. He was during Les Miles' era. He was the one who got LSU in trouble. Somebody may remember, but he was an offensive lineman.
Remember.
Are you talking about the redhead guy?
I can't remember if he
I
had
think
red
that's
hair.
who you're talking about. Because
He was a big offensive lineman.
He played guard. But he was from I think I know who you're talking about. He did play. Was his last name Womack or something like that?
Was it Womack?
That's who. Yep, that's who it was. That's exactly what it was.
But it wasn't Chance Womack. It was a different.
He was a redheaded kid.
It's Chance from Alabama too.
I don't know what y'all talking about.
Yeah, I don't know that guy. The only one I remember is Hootie and Lenny Collins. That made my stomach turn.
Matt Womack.
Cam Robinson hurt worse to me.
Oh yeah, he did.
Yeah, because we actually needed Cam, and he was one of the. It had been so long since we had an O-line recruit. Yeah,
and he lived up to the hype too.
I think he was a day one guy.
Oh yeah,
did Cam start freshman year?
Yeah, he was All-American, bro.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Not as a freshman, but he ended up becoming an All-American. And when the last time LSU had a
first round pick.
That's when I got that perception that Monroe was all Alabama, dog. Until I met him, he started naming guys.
That wasn't. That's blown out of proportion a little bit. Shout out Rashard Lawrence.
I was just going to say, shout out to Steve Emmitsmaker for going up there and getting him. Yeah, he made sure that Rashard Lawrence ended up
was one of my favorite Tigers, dog. He loved LSU, man. He loved it.
Yeah.
All right, fellas. We got Mike Scarborough will be coming on in about 5 minutes or so.
Okay.
If y'all have any questions for Mike, go ahead and get them ready in the chat. We will be talking a lot of recruiting. We probably won't go into too much details because Mike does have his own podcast and article that he puts out. So we don't want to take money out of his pocket, but we do want to, bring him to y'all. Cam is a villain. That's funny. Let me ask this question though. Before we get to that, last week we talked, and I think I had I still have it. Let me pull it up. Daniel, I had a question but you were having technical difficulties, so you kind of missed out on this one.
All right, what you got?
It was about and hey, we got Chris on here too. Arch Manning and his recruiting process. Why was it so polarizing?
I mean, that's easy. Yeah, he a Manning.
Bro, y'all got to quit saying he a Manning at the end of the day. But if you look at the guy, he just got so much potential. He looked like a starting quarterback. He's going to be.
He looks like a starting quarterback.
Hey,
Chris, I look like a GQ model too.
My thing is this though. I'm not disagreeing with you, Chris, that he got potential. But my question is, as of right now, is he better than all the rest of the quarterbacks in his class?
I really do believe that. I know a lot of people don't. I just believe it.
Okay, so why? From what I see, why, Chris?
I believe he throw a lot better than people give him credit for, and he can run the ball. Not elite, but he above average.
Okay.
He's in a quarterback. He's a Trevor Lawrence, dog.
He's definitely not Trevor Lawrence. He's above average for a Manning as far as running, but he's definitely he's no Trevor Lawrence. That dude has.
So, bro.
Is he the number one player in the country to you?
I think so, man. I think
the perfect player comp for Arch Manning is Miles Brennan. With no disrespect to Miles Brennan, I think it is. I think for the level of competition. Right.
Look at the level of competition Jackson Howard playing with in Minnesota. Don't mean he ain't gonna do nothing. He's still a good player.
Yeah, but you're talking about two completely different positions too.
That wouldn't matter.
That's funny, Justin. I like that. He said he look a DQ model. So, I like that.
What is DQ?
Nah, hey, shout out to them boys.
Swacking the food.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah. My bad, producer. It says he better than Walker Howard. Chris, go ahead. Hey. Okay, all right. Okay. I just want to make sure. So
Because you keep saying that he's gonna be a number one.
Walkers because I was saying that because I watched that West.
I'm gonna just sip my drink.
And after I watched that Neville game, Walker Howard should have never been to a 4-star. He should have always stayed a 5-star. I know y'all don't care about stars, but Walker Howard beat Neville by himself, one of the top programs in Louisiana by himself.
Yeah,
no help. He didn't have help.
That's facts. and he showed off his legs.
Yes, he can run.
On a broken, wasn't he on a broken leg too? Yeah. At that point,
I don't know if it was broken.
Yeah, just came back, didn't he? Didn't he just come back from it?
That was before he got hurt, was it?
Yeah,
I think in the playoffs.
No, the playoffs he did come back. He did come back early, but the Neville game he was healthy.
Bro, and that shows you, bro, how much of a dog he is. He come back off of a broken leg injury. And he just want to play. And he already knows that he's done. He's done. He's the number one quarterback in the state. He's going to LSU.
Chris,
you gotta love it, man.
So I just want to there you go, Daniel Dairy Queen. But go ahead and go back to Ryan's comment.
That's funny.
For those that don't know, there is a wager on the line between Chris and Ryan Thibodeau that if Arch Manning wins a Heisman, he will buy Chris a steak dinner. I'm just gonna say this now. I could be wrong. Ryan, your money is safe.
Hey, but this is the thing too. It kind of goes back to who said this? Can Sark develop Danny Thompson? Can Texas develop him? Sark got fired at USC or QBU.
He didn't get fired for coaching though. He got fired for
because he got Jake Locker in the first round.
He liked the bourbon.
Yeah, he couldn't put the drink down. If you look at the quarterbacks that Sark can coach. He turned. Look at what he did with Mac Jones.
He can.
You know what I mean? Jake Locker was a first round pick too. Cody Kessler was a third round pick. You know what I mean? He coached Carson Palmer. He coached Matt Leinart. You know, he's coached great quarterbacks. So you can't. If it's one thing that Sark can do is develop quarterbacks and call plays. Now, can he be a head coach? The jury's still out on that one, but that's just like to be determined.
Hey, I just want to.
Just like with Ed Ogeron, he can coach the D line and recruit. Can he be a head coach? Probably not.
No. So hold on, I'm trying to find it because here it is. Because this was brought up. This was brought up the other day. Well, when Lindale White was on AYS, the coaching staff at USC in 2001. Savage. The head coach Pete Carroll, the offensive coordinator was Norm Chow. Then they had Steve Sarkisian as a quarterback coach, Lane Kiffin as the tight end coach, and then Ed Orgeron was your defensive line coach and recruiting coordinator.
Wasn't Ken Norton Jr. on that squad?
If I believe so, I can't find it. But yeah.
But you know what? To kind of go back to what Chris was saying about Ed Orgeron, I think Ed Orgeron can be a great head coach if he get out his own way.
Bro, you trying to play it?
No, I'm not playing devil's advocate. I mean, he literally built the 2019 team. That tells you right there that he does know how to build a team. And if you look at all the defensive talent that we have,
bro,
and the talent that he knows how to.
Oh, yeah.
Bro, he got Joe Burrow here. We ain't gonna have this conversation right now. But.
So I do want to say this. We got Mike Scarborough in the building. We'll be bringing him on shortly. I do want to say this. Somebody said it perfectly. Ed Orgeron is only as good as his offense. I mean, as his coordinators.
Of course,
that's fair. I mean,
that's a lot of coaches.
That's not a knock though, because Sam Pittman the same way. Right. You know what I mean? Like if you and
Mario Cristobal.
If you look at these coaches who have never been coordinators, they can't coach one side of the ball or the other, so they rely on their coordinators to do that. They're more of the CEO, you know what I mean, type of guys.
GMs. And that's
if you
cool.
ain't got that, but that means you one bad hire away from having a terrible season, and we've seen that for the past 2 years with Orgeron.
All right, fellas. Well, let's take a quick break.
We got to come back to that topic.
Yeah, we're gonna take a quick break, real quick. Take a quick commercial break. Mark Scarborough will be on in a second. Chris, as always, we love having you on. Stick around with us.
Yeah,
stick around with us. But we're gonna get Mike on for a second. But
the Golden Boot Pod is proud to announce that merchandise is now available. We have everything from t-shirts and hoodies, to hats and beanies, to drinkware, to wearables and blankets. You can find it all under the merchandise tab at thegoldenboot.podbean.com or go directly to thegoldenboot.com. As always, thank you for supporting the Golden Boot Pod.
Ladies and gentlemen, we know y'all wasn't waiting on us. We know what y'all came here to see. We have a special guest in the building. Mr. Mike Scarborough from TigerBait.com. Mike, welcome to the Golden Boot. Glad to have you on. And he got on the police shirt. Look at him. So Mike,
I'm going old school for you guys today.
All right.
Hey, I love that band. Excellent band.
So Mike, I'm gonna go ahead.
And by the way, let me give you a little history on this.
Okay.
A lot of guys don't remember. You're showing your age, but the PMAC used to host a lot of great concerts. Great concerts. The best concert I ever saw in my life was the Police at the PMAC.
Wow.
I
So
love it. So you didn't like Garth Brooks?
but that wasn't at the PMAC.
That is true.
Garth Brooks is a great entertainer, and that was a fantastic event. But is he a guy that I'm listening to his music on rotation? No.
Gotcha.
But as far as going to an event and people watching and having fun, that was a great day.
So Mike, I'm gonna go ahead and say it now. I told somebody the other day, I was talking about it. I think I said it on Blake's show. There are 4 great Mikes in all the I ain't gonna say all the sports, but you got Michael Jackson, Mike Tyson, what was the other? Michael Jordan, and then we got Mike Scarborough.
That's the Mount Rushmore of Mikes right there, man.
Now I did see y'all getting a little deal last week. Who was it? Was it y'all comparing Chris Brown and Michael Jackson?
No,
Someone was trying to say Chris Brown was better than Michael Jackson.
They you know what? I wouldn't doubt that in spaces.
Disrespect.
But
It's disrespectful.
Yeah.
I mean, Chris Brown.
So Chris Brown and Michael Jackson. Well, Daniel, since you were about to go there, you got Beat It and Beat Her. We'll stop. Oh, go ahead. Hold up. Let's go ahead and.
I see. Blake showing.
The views and opinions expressed in the Golden Boot podcast are those of the speaker and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of the Golden Boot podcast as a whole.
My bad. I shouldn't have went there.
That was definitely Pooh.
that was me. My bad, everybody. But Blakey is calling you out. Mike. He said it, the last police. Time police played at the PMAC was 1962.
Well, he's a little off, but about 2 decades.
All right. So Mike, I asked you on your show. It is July. It is literally the 3rd day of July. Panic amongst fans over this recruiting is at an all-time high. And I know you mentioned on your show. Have you ever seen this much panic amongst fans this early in the recruiting cycle?
I think the panic. Look, there's a bunch of ways to look at it. If you're going to sit there and go down the line and you're going to look at a top 10 list from whatever recruiting service, top 10 you want to look at, and you want to look at Arch Manning and you want to look at Eli Holstein, and you're hearing about Jaden Osbury and Tackett Curtis has a finalist and LSU's not in it. I get it. And Derek Williams, of course, doing what he did last Monday. I don't think Derek Williams is over, but even if it is, I think Derek Williams is maybe the one that you legitimately, if you're an LSU fan, would make you concerned. But at the same time, I go back to last year when you lost 3 wide receivers in the state of Louisiana, and even though Aaron Anderson was the guy that I just couldn't stop oohing and ahhing about all season long. And going back to the year before that, that's just never going to be a position at LSU where I think you ever get worried. But like I said on my show the other night, if you lose Zalance Hurd, then I'll bring the party tray to your pity party.
Right. Right. I think too right now, Mike. I think LSU just going after needs. You know, we're replacing a lot of guys next year off the defensive line, linebackers, safeties, and right now they're getting them. You know,
And see, Daniel, that's the other part of it. This staff, first of all, they come in, and let me back up. When your coach is making $100 million, no one wants to hear that the state's down.
Yeah.
Or that there's multiple positions that are not going to meet your needs. So you're going to have to go out of state and fight your peer group for the best of the best that everybody wants. No, if your coach is making $100 million, you better have a top 10 class that first year.
Yeah.
Period. Don't come in at 13 or 14. And that's, I don't know that that's unreasonable. But is it, but let's say hypothetically the class is 12th in the country. Well, that's based off high school kids.
Right.
You know, we're going to be sitting here next February or March, and it's the combination of the transfer portal and what they did with high school kids.
Yeah.
And then there's some kids that come from the portal that you're shocked that they left where they were at because of maybe they were a first or second team all conference selection in a Power 5 conference. You know, is it going to go beyond just getting kids from Florida Atlantic and UL Lafayette and Oklahoma State? I mean, to get Bernard Converse, I mean, that's crazy.
Yeah.
So, but is there more guys like him than pilfering kids from the Sun Belt and Coosa and some of that? So, but you know, I remember we had our sit-down interviews with each of the coaches, and they let all the media go do round robin at tables with each assistant coach after signing day. And I sat down with Jamar Kane. I got him towards the end, so I was just me and him, and it dawned on me right when I sat down that he was going to have a tough go of it. You know, because there's no defensive tackles or ends in Louisiana for the class of 23. There's not even a guy that I can point to and say, you know, if this guy has a good half senior year, or maybe this is a guy that could get an offer. I'm not even seeing any of those. So now he's got 2 defensive ends committed, and he's got a couple going down tomorrow. So it's a big July 4th weekend for Jamar Kane.
Yes, it is. Let me ask you this. I know you mentioned the $100 million contract makes some fans, you know, not care about or want to hear some of these, you know, excuses, if you want to call them that. But how much does this coaching staff have to clean up and repair relationships with, you know, high school coaches and players around the state, like Tackett Curtis, for example? You know what I mean? With, you know, the relationship with Ed Orgeron and his high school coach wasn't great.
But here's the thing on that, Ant. Blake Baker was absolutely cordial. I don't know where Blake Baker did anything wrong on Orgeron's staff.
Yeah,
and I mean, maybe you guys know there's a one here or there, and say what you want about Orgeron, and there's good and bad, and I think a lot of it can be piling on with him. But I'm unaware of high school coaches not liking Ed Orgeron. I mean, you can fault him for a lot of things, but you know. I know that they made phone calls every week to high school coaches and wished them good luck in their weekend games. And I don't know that there's any relationship problems there. But
gotcha.
But the issue with Tackett Curtis does predate Brian Kelly and his staff. That, you know, I remember like it was yesterday. It was last spring, and everybody, the big offers were coming all around the country, and LSU was the last one. In fact, LSU didn't want to offer him unless he came to camp in June, but he ended up getting one in May anyways. And so, of course, you also have to remember last June was the first, because of COVID, where kids could start going out.
Yeah.
And so last year, Tackett and others went and used that because they had been cooped up and they weren't able to go on unofficial or official visits the year before. So they all went out and used the month of June to finally get out and see some schools. And that's what Tackett did. So, so now it's, what have I been saying all, and I feel like I'm picking on Tackett, but it's like, is he going to come to camp? After a while, it's like if they don't come to your school and you invite them to things and they don't come, after a while you're just like, you know what, man, it's kind of like trying to convince someone to be your friend. After a while, you're like, man, I don't need to beg anybody to be my friend.
Right. Yeah. Especially when you got the goods, man.
let me. You mentioned what Jamar Cain's doing, and the commits he just got, and some to come. I don't want you to give away too much of your info, but how many players do you see committing over the next few weeks to LSU?
I think my predictions are like a lot of them out there. I think everybody thinks LSU is about to clean house.
Yeah.
You're going to get 3 tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Okay.
And so Ashton Stamps from Rummel.
Okay.
And he's a kid who can play corner or safety, and he'll start things off at 1:00. So,
hey, Mike, and can you elaborate a little bit more on Ashton Sampson from Rummel?
Yeah, Ashton Stamps. He's just, he's a 6'1", 170 to 175 pound. He might be getting close to 180. And he can play multiple spots in the defensive backfield. They like his flexibility. I think that's going to be a nice one for tomorrow. And so, but then you're also you add him to the current, that'll be the 9th commitment. And so you start saying, you're looking at DBs and safeties, and what does that mean for Jordan Matthews? And look, there's he got the offer from LSU, committable offer a few weeks back. That's another one where does he come around and because this staff wanted to evaluate more and see more, and that's always going to be an issue for LSU with Louisiana kids. I don't think that's ever going to go away. For every Anthony Freak Johnson that gets an offer in the 9th grade, there's going to be some players that don't get offered until May or June after they've completed their junior year.
Right.
But maybe Florida and Clemson and Georgia and Texas A&M have offered months before. They have the luxury of saying, well, we don't want you to commit yet. LSU doesn't have that luxury with a Louisiana kid. Yeah. If you offer a Louisiana kid, you better be ready to take that commitment. You can't play around and say, well, we want you to come to camp. And that's one thing I did not like about the previous staff. They extended offers that weren't committable. And, sometimes I talk to parents and they'll say, what are some advice you can give? Particularly parents where neither one were an athlete or they was an only child and they didn't go through it. And maybe they're at a school that doesn't produce a lot of, it's like when they offer you a scholarship, ask them if it's committable offer. If you want to commit today, will they take it? That tells you what it's worth.
Yeah, how they really feel about you.
Yeah.
Hey, Mike, we got a question from the chat from C. King. He says, is LSU really a player with Jaylen Brown?
The receiver?
Yes, that's the if I'm not mistaken, the kid that's literally on
South Florida.
On the doorsteps of Miami.
Yeah, that's Miami.
Yeah. Okay, and then
I have a go ahead, Pooh.
No, we got another one from Miss Phyllis Balfour. I hope I'm saying that name right. It's ask Mike, can LSU possibly flip Ricky Collins?
I know Joe Sloan has recruited Ricky Collins for months, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah. Hey, and I have a quick question for you. It's kind of going back to the Tackett Curtis deal, but how has recruiting changed whenever you bring in NIL? Because a lot of people are saying that our relationships are those there now. Now that money, of course, money has always been involved, Mike, and we know that, but now it's literally on the table now. How important it is to still have those relationships.
Well, you want to have the whole package.
Yeah.
I mean, you just don't want it to be where, your staff is full of jackasses, but you're giving the most money.
Yeah.
You want it all. You want to have a staff that relates to the players and staff members that talk about the players as human beings and are interested in the fact that they like to bass fish, whatever it is, you know, you know, so you want great facilities, you want a staff that has good personalities and charisma, you want staff that can coach, you want great facilities, you want to be in the SEC, and then you want to have the NIL dollars that can match anybody in the country.
Right.
Yeah.
And Mike,
so,
do you believe that LSU has those NIL dollars to match anyone in the country?
I really believe, let's say hypothetical, that if LSU didn't have Walker Howard on the bench, and let's say Walker Howard wasn't there, didn't exist, and you had Miles Brennan with his amount of eligibility left, Jaden Daniels and Garrett Nussmeier, this would absolutely be a year where you needed to nail down one of the national quarterbacks.
Right.
And if all the national quarterbacks that were out there, whichever one you want to name, and the going price tag was, I'm just going to make it up, say 6 to 9 million, 6 to 10. I think LSU would be there.
Yeah, I agree.
I think now the unfortunate thing about that is that the way it's going to be going forward for you? You know, when we look back 5 years from now, and we're saying that's how it is. Quarterbacks are getting this amount, and the right guard that was a 3-star out of Beaufort, Georgia, is, you know, getting a nice lease on an F-150.
Yeah.
You know, is that how? What are we walking into? And all this stuff about. I mean, I can't. I know y'all do it. You can't go a day without someone saying something's got to be done, or when are they going to pass rules? Man, it's over. There ain't no rules. I mean, the only way that could really do it, and it would probably end up in the players cutting their nose off to spite their face, would be if they unionized.
Right.
But my only thing.
But if you unionize, there's more players that are going to be the have-nots than the haves.
Yeah.
Right.
Your quarterback's going to get the big paydays, and then there's going to be other positions, deep snappers, middle linebacker, whatever the priority you want to put on them. And then all of a sudden, but there's more of those than there are the quarterbacks. So if you want to even distribute or put a salary cap, the sure way to do it is to unionize.
Well,
because then all of a sudden college football becomes a mini NFL.
But my only problem with that is, and I agree with you, but if you unionize, and who do you do a collective bargaining agreement with? Because this money isn't coming from the schools. This money is coming from boosters in a sense. So the money they'd have to do some kind of profit sharing deal with the TV networks or something like that. If I want to call Jack Besh up and say, Jack, I want to do a Tiger Bait Live with you, and I'm going to give you an obscene amount of money, that transaction between Jack Besh is absolutely nobody's business.
Right.
Exactly.
And either he or me could sue somebody if they try to intervene and tell us what we could and couldn't do.
Right. Thanks to that new law.
And we would be right. It's capitalism.
Yeah.
You know, to me, it's no different. I mean, you can go back to when I was young, and you had Chris Everett and all these tennis players at 15 years old winning Wimbledon, making money and turning pro. It's no different.
Right.
And so that's kind of the flip, but then you can turn around and you can see where it's turning off a lot of people.
Right.
And I can tell you, talking to some guys that have the means and are big, heavy money people for college football and the TAF, it's turned a lot of those guys off. I think it gets to the point with some of them where they're like, you know what, I'm not enjoying this anymore.
Right. Okay.
I say it all the time, and I was talking to someone today. If you go from $5 million in outlay of dollars is a big booster to $8 million, does that extra $3 million you spent make you any happier?
Right.
What does it do for you personally?
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. Well, let me ask you this right quick, Pooh. What happens? Because I know a lot of people are saying, well, hey, a lot of those guys may within a year or two be in the transfer portal. So what happens whenever you sign those contracts, those players sign those contracts, and they have to pay the money back to those universities? You know what I'm saying?
It's not coming from the school.
My apologies. Not the universities, but whoever, the boosters, whoever provided them with the NIL deals.
I think that's going to be a case by case because it depends on what the contract says.
Oh yeah, are we going to see players with collection agencies? Yeah, and are we going to see businesses defaulting on contracts and
right?
Because the one nobody talks about is taxes. You know what I mean? Like, do these kids have someone in place to make sure that they are doing everything by the book when it comes to the IRS?
But that's okay too. That's a part of life. Right. A lot of kids come out of high school now that don't know how to balance their checkbook. That's okay. They're starting early. They're gonna learn.
Right.
They're gonna learn with a lot more money than I did.
Yeah.
That's right. Hey, Mike, we got two questions that are pretty much the same thing, and I'll put up one. Basically, is asking about the removal of the scholarship restriction and how that will affect this class, and also will LSU take more risks now?
Well, look, what were we saying for months? What's going on with those 2 spots that LSU didn't use?
Yeah.
Well, that's 2 more you can add towards the 85. It's like for next year.
Yeah.
So, again, I'm just wondering if, and that's the other part of the hand wringing of LSU fans getting a little anxious about the recruiting class. And now with 8 commitments there, inside the top 40 I've seen out there. Is it going to be where is it another year of heavy portal?
Yeah.
Is it because of what's out there? Do you say, okay, Louisiana's not giving me this at this position, so and the guys that we really need out of state, there's so much recruiting pressure on them, and that kid's in the state of Ohio, and his parents were both Buckeyes. Is it easier for them to say, you know what? At that position, it's just better for us to go to the portal rather than reach on a 3-star at that position. Let's get us a guy who's got 2 or 3 years left of eligibility, and he played darn well at Pitt. Whatever. I'm just
right.
Well, so let me
go ahead.
How do you see this class finishing? You don't got to put a number on there, but do you think it'll be similar to last year's class where they do what they can, like you just mentioned, with the high school and fill the plugs with transfers, or do you think that they can get enough of high school guys to where they can just go after the top talent in the portal?
For the perception standpoint of it, you want to be in the top 10. Yeah. You want to be there. But is that necessary? If you're 12 or 13, does it matter if your haul in the portal is just crazy?
But not only that, you actually have the guys you actually need.
Yeah. But Brian Kelly does, and it's the right way that you prefer to build your program with high school kids.
Yeah. That's why I was going with the question. Do you think they can fill enough holes, in the roster with high school guys to where they can just go get the top talent? Oh, let's go get that, good wide receiver or whatever the case may be in the portal instead of trying to fill needs in the portal.
Obviously Jamar Cain's well on his way at the end of the day tomorrow. And so then the next guy who needs to make a run like that is Brad Davis.
Yeah.
But how does Brad Davis get it done? Is it 3 high school kids and 2 portal kids?
Yeah.
And then who uses that 85 new rule to really transform their position the most? Which one where we see a total transformation at a position in 1 year. And is there any position on the team, if you really look at it, that you need to do that with?
Would you say the DB room, considering how many guys you could be losing after next year? You know, your whole secondary, starting secondary, is pretty much draft eligible or out of eligibility.
Right. So is that, you've got the DBs and of course Stamps tomorrow and others, still out there.
Do you take
but then you also need maybe another 4 or 5 transfer portal DBs.
That's where I was going with. You take like 5 high school guys and 3 or 4 transfer DBs also to make sure you got somebody who you can play next year.
Exactly. And then then there's going to be a lot of kids that are going to wait to see what LSU looks like this football season. The DBU deal is still the brand. And Coach Steeples is obviously very well liked.
Right.
And, the kids I talk to absolutely adore him. Coach Cooks, same thing. Those guys, I don't think they're going to have any issues.
All right. Hey, Mike, let me ask you this, and then we'll kind of shift to outside the LSU footprint. But are there any areas of concern for you as far as recruiting on we need to get someone in this position? Not necessarily a particular kid, but we need to get this position looked at before we move on.
Well, I want to see, look, Coach Davis obviously had a hell of a June with official visitors. And not only that, guys who came unofficially in June and throughout the spring. I really like the direction of where that's heading with the current personnel. But once he starts getting some shoes to drop, and I was blown away by Zalance Hurd at camp. I just when I walked in that indoor facility on that Friday and got a look at him, I was just, I said the last week on somebody's show where it's like, you walk in there and you're like, there's 600 kids. How long does it take me to pick them out? I wasn't 3 steps in the indoor facility and I knew which one was him. I mean, and he seemed like he was taking coaching real well. And I think LSU's in a great spot for him based on things that I picked up that day and since then.
Yeah.
You just can't. That's the one you can't let get away. I'm naming names but I'm not slighting anybody. But you don't lose as Zalance Hurd, but you can absorb Shaz Preston and Kendrick Law.
Understood.
And that's not a shot at them because I wonder if one day those guys might come back.
Yeah.
2 very good athletes.
Why are you lying to people on this on here, bro?
I was going to say I thought he was 3-1 great. But,
he's a 3-1 great.
Mike, so I said we'll shift outside of the.
Y'all want to crack on some 985? Is Blake still in here?
Hey, so it came out.
By the way, when I crack on 985, I forget that 985 stretches all the way south of Morgan City and Patterson and Houma. When I think of 985, I think Mandeville North, Hammond, Kentwood, Amy. Yeah.
Who this man? Tomatoes.
I see him.
But hey, Mike. So it was announced earlier this week about the USC and UCLA going to the Big Ten. Then it came out teams like Oregon, Washington, I think Arizona State, Utah. Pretty much the rest of what's left in the pacifier conference that they're looking to possibly join. What do you think about the quote unquote future of college football?
Well, you see that happening right now, and you think about years ago how sacred the Rose Bowl was. What does that do to the blue bloods? Yeah. And anybody who's ever been held a position on the Rose Bowl committee or whatever.
Right. It's funny you say that. We had a guy from Miami defending Mario Cristobal. We were like, he didn't win the big games. He was like, he won the Rose Bowl. He won the Rose Bowl. And he literally said to everybody, he won the Rose Bowl. And it's like, but
I think there's an age group, and depending on where you grew up, where you just think the Rose Bowl is, of course down here we think we maybe we could do the same thing with the Sugar Bowl, but we don't go crazy like they do.
Right. No, but I mean, if we're being honest, how important to that LA market is the Rose Bowl?
But let me ask you this:
some of its luster.
I think the whole thing about it though is what's going to happen with Notre Dame. I mean, are they finally forced to go full hog in the ACC?
Bingo. And if they don't go to the ACC, what happens to Clemson, Florida State, Miami, and schools like that? Do they try to jump to the SEC? And do you end up having two conferences basically named ESPN and Fox? You know.
And again,
you already have that technically.
Again, how powerful does this make Sankey?
Yeah.
I mean, is there anybody more powerful than him in college football?
No, he's already threatened to have his own playoff.
Yeah, his boss, Nick Saban.
When you think about it, I brought this up a while back. When have you, not in my lifetime or when I've been paying attention, has the SEC had a weak commissioner? I mean, since Roy Kramer, they've been all, just total bosses.
Yeah.
I mean, for him to go do what he did and get Oklahoma and Texas, that basically
power move.
You can, and then to say nothing about what he did, saying no, we're playing football through COVID,
right?
And the whole national media getting on him about it. That dude has been a boss through everything, but his legacy is obviously written by going and taking Texas and Oklahoma away.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Now we wait to see what the 9-game schedule is going to be and how that's going to play out, and we'll see.
Ryan makes a good point. He's jockeying for the NCAA job.
I don't know that he wants that. I think he's got the best job. The NCAA job is a terrible job.
My bingo. That was my question. How good of a job is the NCAA job right now?
Think about how bad they ricked Mark Emmert. Mark Emmert isn't a dumb guy.
Well, not just that, but how much longer is the NCAA going to be?
That was my point. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like the SEC his position as the SEC commissioner could be bigger than Mark Emmert's position in 5 years.
Yeah, because the reason why Mark Emmert retired and the reason why everybody was getting after him was because he had no power.
Yeah.
Everybody wanted him to do something. Well, he couldn't do anything.
Yeah, I agree.
But the guy who can do something is the SEC boss. Yeah, there you go, Dandy. That's true.
All right, Mike. I got two questions for you, and then and thank you for your time.
Hey, no problem, man. Happy 4th, everybody.
Yes, sir. Yeah, I got a question also. I got one more.
I'll let you go ahead, Daniel, because it looks like it's all over your head.
Funny guy. Hey, Malik Benson, what are your thoughts on him?
Yeah, been digging on that. Is that Alabama or is it Georgia? I don't think LSU.
Yeah. You don't think so?
But I know that's one that Coach Hankton, really would have liked.
Yeah.
But he came for the visit and it got quiet.
Yeah.
But he would love that, but that's a guy right there. You're talking about an older, and he's a guy that they think, could have been. He's a stud, man.
Yeah.
Huh?
I got one question too, Pooh, but you can go ahead.
No, go ahead, because I'm gonna shift to baseball real quick. Ask a quick baseball question.
All right, last football question. Who's the guy in this class that could end up being the Jordan Jefferson, the Jack Bech, the guy that some fans just see as the last minute guy in the class, but ends up actually making an impact?
You want to say Louisiana?
Yeah.
I think everybody's sleeping on Kai Preem.
Kai Preem. Oh, okay. Kai Preem. Yeah. Do you think LSU's in a good place with him?
I do. I think too many people are not talking about that kid. I think he's an absolute stud.
Okay.
All right.
He can catch. He can run. He's got good balance. Great hands. We're going to find out. I know they're pretty confident in St. James that he will be eligible. I hope he is. Well, you were talking about it. If somehow they rule him ineligible, he could be just like Malik Neighbors, and then because he didn't get to play his senior year, I'm not going to say LSU wants that to happen, but it'd probably make it easier to hold on to him and keep him. But I coaches know about him. He's a stud.
Yeah.
Harvey Broussard.
Yeah, Justin Broussard, Harvey Broussard. Harvey had a good camp.
Mike, how come the talk is kind of slowed down on Amari and Miller?
I know they're continuing to watch him in recruiting, but he's one that I wanted to go look at their early non-district schedule. Man, that's just so far up there. I'm never going to get up there, and if they're not, depending on what they draw in the playoffs. But
that's a long way up there.
Man, it was him and on the other side, who's the kid that Oak Grove?
Oh yeah, Cam Franklin, I think is his name.
Yeah, it's like, man, you start mapping that out, like thinking you're going to go film that, then you realize that's an hour and a half north of Monroe.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
They're funneling in sunlight up there.
Oh man!
All right,
That's funny.
Mike. So let me ask you this about the things that, because we talked about recruiting. We started off, the first question was about the panicking. We've been able to see what Jay Johnson's been able to do with the portal, with NIL, with the backing of boosters. I think that should be a message to fans. But I guess the talent he's brought in, is this the most talented team in any sport?
Man, what was Todd Walker saying a day or two ago? It's going to be LSU in the Vols to play for it all next year. Man, look, Jay Johnson is a workaholic, man. He's burning the midnight oil, and for what he's done in the portal, and then going and stealing the Twins pitching coach when they're in first place.
That was big.
And more coming.
It's never been seen.
And is there going to be a deal where we're going to sit there and watch that draft, and there's some kids that normally you would think are gone because of their draft spot, where all of a sudden they're not gone because of NIL deals?
Yeah. I mean, he could potentially have like 7 first-round picks, on his team with Dylan Cruz and Tommy Tanks and some the pitchers he brought in, plus some of those high school guys. If they don't go pro, if they make it to campus, next year's team could have potentially 7, 8 first-round picks. That's a talented team, man.
But as far as the high school kids, I wonder if major league teams realize, hey, if we really covered that guy, we better take him earlier than we want because he's committed to LSU. And the NIL stuff that they're doing over there, they're going to compete with us at that round.
Yeah,
that's interesting.
All right. Mike, it's been fantastic having you on. If you don't know, we all treasure, having you here. It's been an honor. Do you have any professional advice for the Golden Boot?
Man, y'all just keep doing it, man. I love what y'all do. I've been watching y'all for weeks since y'all got started. Obviously, y'all are real active in the Twitter spaces, and it's a new frontier, man. It's with YouTube and Facebook Live, and everybody's got a voice. And if you do a good show and you got good production value, people are going to find you. If you got good opinions, and you bring on guests, and you don't need a 10,000 watt tower to reach people now.
Yeah.
And people can talk LSU sports on the hour, every hour. Yeah. So there's room for everybody. And so I enjoy being with you guys, and I'm glad y'all invited me.
Hey, so you say keep Daniel? Okay, all right. Well,
keep Daniel.
We tried that.
Man, is Daniel y'all's whipping boy? I mean, y'all keep.
Listen, Daniel is.
Why does Daniel get all the grief?
He's the Preston of the guy of our show. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I saw Preston posted today. He was playing golf somewhere, and I'm like, man, I would so kill to see a video of his swing.
Yeah, listen, we
Hey,
love
you know
Daniel.
what?
Daniel
Hey.
is the best little brother that asks all the wrong questions.
The little brother. Yeah. You know what? I play my role, Mike. No ego. You know, you want this to work. But man, I appreciate you
ain't
coming
got
on.
ego, but you got the big head.
All right, guys.
Man, thank you, Mike. Appreciate it.
Appreciate you for coming.
All right, man. Y'all all have a happy 4th and be safe.
Thank you.
Mike. Thank
Appreciate
you.
it.
Man. Okay,
sir.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that was Mr. Mike Scarborough of TigerBait.com. Go check out TigerBait.com, subscribe, and get all the inside news on all your recruits.
Yeah. Now that the guest is going, Ant need a haircut, and so does Pooh.
And Daniel needs a facelift, and you need to do that face off surgery.
Oh
man. Man, but you know what? I wanted to I did wanted to ask him some things about the new guys that we just got committed. Well, I guess we could talk about it a little bit, but as far as Mickens, if you watch the guys that Kane is bringing in, a lot of those guys have one thing in common. They all have a high motor. All of them, especially Mickens and Jackson Howard, you can put probably 20 pounds on them, and those guys are going to be solid. I like Mickens because literally with him, he can replace BJ Ojolari within the next 2 or 3 years. How explosive he is coming off the edge, his motor. He's a lot taller than BJ, but 6'5" and likes to hit. I like it.
The Jackson Howard kid hadn't even played much defensive end, so
right.
He kind of reminds me in a way of Quincy. Quincy Wiggins hadn't played much football, but if you look at the size, if you look at their athleticism, you can tell once they get the coach and once they get the technique and stuff like that in, then they're gonna be animals on that line.
Oh, 100%.
How much do Jackson Howard weigh?
Jackson Howard weighs, I think he's like 240. If I'm not mistaken.
He don't need to add no weight, then Daniel. That's good.
Mickens like 235, I think.
Man, Mickens Mickens definitely. I actually think Mickens is 6.
Hey, Dilly Sanders in here. What up, Dilly? What's going on, bro?
What's going on, man?
Hey, with the way our defense may be shifting, those guys don't need to get too heavy because they may have to go in coverage a little bit.
Right.
But the thing about it is though, is even if they need to add weight, they got the frame for that. That's but if they don't, then they're already at the size to where they can come in and contribute with their athleticism right now.
No disrespect to Tommy Moffitt at all. He was, great for what he did. But I think if anybody can get them to put on proper weight, it's gonna be Jacob Flint.
That's right. It's gonna be good weight.
And shout out to the nutritionist because he gonna make
sure
Dr.
Franks, yes.
Yeah. Make sure that they taking care of themselves, in the cafeteria or the nutrition center.
All right, Chris, was there anything that Mike said that stood out to you, or that because I know I'm not picking on you and Daniel. I know y'all were had some concerns about the way the recruiting class was going initially,
especially in state,
especially with in-state talent.
I think. Go ahead, Chris. I'll let you go first.
Now you go ahead.
I did ask Chris.
Well, I mean, I wanted to answer.
Go ahead, Chris. Go ahead, Chris.
I mute him, Chris. Go ahead, baby. Don't be scared.
I mean, he didn't say nothing that I ain't already heard Mike say. He basically telling us, it ain't gonna be a big deal. Like the guys that went to Bama this year, like the guy from Captain Shreve.
Oh, we're talking about Preston.
He might come back.
Kendrick Law.
I think he might come back. Derek Williams ain't a sure thing to text it till he signs.
That's another thing I want to mention to Mike and to everybody who's listening. Commit and sign are two different things. They are not synonyms.
Hey, we can go down the list. Jamar Chase, John Emery, Harold Perkins.
But the thing with that is how much does NIL play a part in that? Because the landscape of recruiting is a lot different than what it was last year.
I can say this. I can say with NIL, that they're more likely to flip because you can still keep putting the bids until the last, until the last second.
Let's say this though.
We've seen schools last year. We saw schools who thought that they were, that they had a guy in place. And then
let's say it like this:
11 o'clock at night, the day before signing day, they got another bid, a higher offer, and they went with that. You know what I mean? So
publicly.
Let me say it like this though: if that guy, I'm gonna just say some money. I don't know how much money the guy's getting. Say he got $200,000 from Texas. He from New Iberia. You don't think he might take 180 from LSU to stay home?
That's very possible.
But it's true.
What I'm saying? But my thing is, LSU has up until signing day to keep throwing that bid higher and higher and higher.
He might go to February. We don't know if he's gonna be an early enroll.
Hey, we do have inside sources on that particular player, and I asked a certain individual, "Hey, how solid is that commit?" And he said, "A commit is always solid until the next person come holler at you."
Right.
And actually, it sounds like what he's been not getting is attention or the conversation.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So that's the only reason.
Hit that recruiting cliche. LSU
I'm
ain't showing enough love.
Yeah. I seen it first person, dog. I know y'all tired of hearing me saying Derek Dillon, my nephew.
No, that's Derek.
Shout out to he's your cousin. He your cousin.
That's what he said.
He's definitely his nephew.
Well, he was committed to Florida for 2 years. You got Ant helped me out, the offense coordinator with Les and think Steven, not Steve, but Cam Cameron. Cam Cameron and Ed Ogeron came in late, and he flipped on signing day. And went to LSU.
Yeah.
Yep.
And look, let me also say this, guys. Look how closely people are paying attention to July recruiting. Can y'all ever remember a time how it was July this important whenever it came to recruiting? So NIL honestly has pushed that up. And not only that, I think it has. So what do you think the reason is?
I think there's a
July
bunch of
always been big.
I think there's a bunch of different
not like this.
I think for one, you got the Jumbo and Nick Saban situation, which brought a lot of eyes to recruiting and what's going on in recruiting. And that is because of NIL though, but it just isn't strictly NIL. And then if you look at the fact that you got all these high profile coaches that moved around last offseason, Brian Kelly, Lincoln Riley, Venables left, all these high profile coaches are on the under a microscope and what they're doing in recruiting and stuff like that. And with the transfer portal and all those kind of things, it's really just a combination of all those things. NIL does play a part, but it isn't strictly NIL.
I want to say this, that NIL just replaced because everybody's talking about NIL's ruining the game, this, that, and the other, and everything else. NIL basically just replaced the McDonald's bag.
The bag man, yep.
So it's It's the only difference is I'm gonna say the only difference between what was going on before and NIL now is that now me and you
know about it.
Well, no. We can contribute. We can holler at a player and say, hey, you know what I'm saying? Let me give you such and such. That's the difference between NIL now and what was going on prior to. And as far as like July's and stuff, we've always seen. I think it's more.
I don't think so, man.
Well, I think Arch having a Manning and a recruit with that high profile of a name. I think that played a part in it too.
Recruiting services, period, blowing up. Because you got to think, Daniel, if I'm not mistaken, 2 years ago, or maybe in last year, I know, was it Rayshawn Davis? The kid, he ended up eventually going to USC, but he committed on the 4th of July.
I got another point when you get through.
Okay. Ricks or maybe I can't remember, but somebody I remember them recruiting on the 4th of July. Somebody committed on Christmas, the what's called, but that's what. But go ahead.
Y'all might remember when ESPNU when they used to show the guys committing at the bottom of the screen.
Mm-hmm.
I remember in the summertime, it used to be hot every day. They had somebody commit. You'll see it slow down when they football season start, dog.
Yeah, because a lot of players want to get out the way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
it always been high. Just I guess it's more, out there because of social media and stuff too, though. But it's been around. But they get real big on social
And
media
that's the
now.
thing, though. Like ESPN, like you said, ESPNU used to show that, but like with Arch Manning being, that the name Manning, now they talking about it on ESPN. They talking about it
Yeah,
on, First Take
Skip and
It Up.
Shannon got
Yeah,
him
you
on
know
the
what I'm saying,
thing.
stuff like that. So it just because you got Arch, they're talking about recruiting on places they normally wouldn't talk about recruiting.
I got you.
All right. Well, fellas, is it that time?
That's all I got.
Yep.
All right. All right. Y'all know what time it is. I guess I'll go ahead and lead this thing off. LSU fans, come on to the front of the congregation. Let's talk for a second. We have been seeing these kind of Twitter messages saying the sky is falling. Brian Kelly is, saying it's a little concerning. The commits, saying we're losing recruits every day. NIL is getting to us. A lot of talk of a storm is coming. I don't see it. Hey, I can't even look at 247 right now. Then so think about how bad this is. You have to be unable to recruit a Louisiana kid. But then what gives me hope is we did a poll and 69.4% said, hey, nothing to worry about. 21.6%, a few concerned. But then you've got the BKs in over his head at 2.7%. And we are losing the state at 6.3%. And it kind of makes me wonder, are we just hearing all the negative voices? Are we just hearing all the loud squeaky wheels? I do know it's July. It literally is 3 days. We're 3 days into July. We have up until December. No, let me correct that. We have until February to flip most of these guys. So it's nothing to panic about. There is some, you can be concerned and stuff, but we've got plenty of time. We haven't even snapped the ball yet. We hadn't even, when we start playing against, the Florida States and putting whoopings on them, and then you move on down and we take out some of the rest of the competition, and people can see the product on the field that BK is bringing and that the staff is bringing, then we can start worrying if we're not seeing production out of that. That's all I got. And because I know Daniel's a little bit serious. All right.
Go.
All right.
What you really, really need to focus on is finding a way to utilize Zion to get assets for him to have people who want to play and want to be professional and want to be there. Because I think behind all of this, JJ, and I don't know, I'm not pretending to know, but I think based on the evidence that you deduce from what we see, I believe that Zion Williamson is sending a message. I don't want to be here. I want you to get me the hell up out of here. The reality is, Wendy, Zion don't want to be there. And when he put out that video, it was the latest example of how they're not on the same page. He wants to play. He might be anxious to play, but he wants to play and averages 27-7 and win games and do enough to solidify his status as a young star in this league while always praying somebody will get him the hell up out of there so he can end up in a market like New York or L.A. or something like that. That's Zion Williamson. They can say what they want, but I've heard enough to know that this is what the brother would prefer. And so when
Pelicans can say, or a team that's trading for Zion can say, oh, the guy can't even stay in shape. Nobody talks to him. That's not who Zion is. I think Zion's really shrewd here. Zion does not want to be here. He has no interest. He's literally rehabbing out in Nike in Portland. He has no interest being there. Chris Paul didn't want to be there. AD didn't want to be there. This is an organization, the Pelicans, the NBA had to buy and then sold it because Louisiana is not a super rich state. They just sold it to the NFL owners who don't really care about basketball nearly as much as football, and everybody knows it. Agents know it. Players know it. He doesn't want to play there.
Oh, boy, where do I want to start? All right. First of all, Gail Benson is the owner of the Pelicans, and the Pelicans were bought specifically for her. That is her baby. She definitely cares about the Pelicans. And Zion definitely showed that he wants to be in New Orleans when he signed this contract. You had people like Kendrick Perkins saying Zion would never sign the contract and he would leave first chance he get, and Stephen A. saying he wants to go to a bigger market like New York. Why would he go to the Knicks of all teams? Whenever you see what the Pelicans are building, when you had a team that made the playoffs without Zion last year, whenever you see the young pieces they have with Brandon Ingram, Herb Jones, and some of these other guys, of course you sign an extension with that. And for everyone who's saying he hadn't played but 85 games, well, nobody was really saying anything when Joel Embiid signed a $150 million deal after only playing 31 games. Zion is a generational talent. He averaged 27 points on 61% shooting whenever he played. You sign that to a max deal every day. And if you're Zion, you see what the Pelicans have and what they're building around you. Of course, you want to stay there long term. Good job by both sides in getting this deal done. And Stephen A. Screaming A. Smith and Colin Cowherd and everybody else in the national media, stop with the terrible takes on the Pelicans, because you couldn't be further from the truth.
Ooh, that was spicy.
Super spicy. Hey, Miles Bridges, please come to the altar. Go ahead, pull the video, please.
Daddy choked mommy.
Daddy choked mommy? Why?
Because he beat me with a fight together.
Well, what did you do?
I smacked him and Daddy doesn't be nice.
You hit him and told him to be nice? What did he do that for, though?
They were fighting each other.
Where's your mommy's phone?
It's from the window.
He threw it out the window?
Yeah, Daddy did it.
He threw her phone out the window? Where'd he put her shoes?
Throw it out the window.
Oh my gosh, why?
Because he wasn't being nice. I smacked him though.
Yeah, that's not very nice. You have to be nice to people.
Yeah, so a couple of weeks ago, we called Miles Bridges. Miles Bridges, I think he was my altar call a couple of weeks ago because of the incident that he had as far as posting lean and wanting to rap. No one wants to hate on his rap skills. Go ahead if you want to do that. But man, Miles Bridges, it seems like he has ever since then he's been downhill spiral, and it's a shame that his kids have to witness that. Miles Bridges beating on his wife, Michelle Bridges, and everything that's happening. Yeah, and what's going on with social media, as far as a lot of people saying Miles Bridges fumbled the bag right before he was about to sign a $100 million contract or whatever. He does this. No, the biggest thing that social media and everyone should be talking about is how he beat his wife in front of his kids and how he's ruining his life, right? And not only his life, his kids' life, and the trauma that he's passing down to them. That's the biggest story. So the fact that people are bypassing all the abuse that's going on in this guy's life and going straight to the money, that tells you where some people are at in this society. So I would like for us, honestly, to lift this man's family up, right? And not only that, I hope that he does get punished for what he did to his wife, to what he did to his kids, and that hopefully he learns from that. Honestly, would be what I would want. So from that, guys, please, let's take abuse seriously. Let's talk about it. If you know someone that's getting physically abused, say something, right? Also, in that post, she also put that she's been getting physically abused for years, and no one ever said anything. So, if anything, guys, let's say something. And not only that, let's get off the money and let's focus on the real thing, which is the kids.
Hey, well said, Dean. Appreciate it.
No problem.
Okay.
I wish I didn't have to.
Yeah, I know. Definitely a terrible situation. I want to thank everybody in the chat. I want to apologize for the Chris Brown joke. Yeah, I shouldn't should have went there, especially with what's called it. So that's my bad on me.
But it's fine, man. We need to show grace also. Look, I've made some comments as well that was a little insensitive on Twitter, and I do want to apologize about that as well. So, we are human.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. Well, y'all got anything else? Thanks to everybody in the chat. Real, I appreciate you. Love you, Daddy.
Appreciate Mike for coming on.
Thank you, Mike. Yeah, I truly appreciate it. It's like I know y'all think I'm playing. It's truly an honor to share, some screen. Starting off, 4 young black guys, doing a podcast about LSU, and Mike's like, hey, let me get them some help. Hey, right. Chill out, man. Slow up.
All right.
I also want to shout out everybody in the chat for rocking with us for the whole show. Make sure y'all go like and share, and get ready for them fireworks tomorrow. And I ain't just talking about 4th of July.
Man, we should have popped fireworks tonight.
I ain't talking about 4th of July, Chris.
Chris, it be over your head, Chris. It be over your head.
Oh yeah, we finna get on board. Yeah.
Chris, just put your hands up like this. Chris, put your hands up like this and catch it. All right.
Not a honey bun.
Hey, we ain't got to worry about anything ever going over Daniel's head though.
See, bro, see what I'm talking about.
Ain't no room.
I don't never say nothing. I'll be trying to be a Christian over
it's
here.
All love, bro. It's all love, bro. You my dog.
Nigga look like he left his shirt in the dryer too long.
All right, we finna get out of here.
All right, and on that note, we out.
No neck.
Don't forget to like, follow, and subscribe on Twitter at Golden Boot. On Instagram at Golden Boot. On YouTube at The Golden Boot Pod. On Facebook at The Golden Boot Pod.
Golden Boot!